Okay, welcome to the Talon Sports Podcast. Today we'll be covering the Australian Open, NBA All-Star Game, NFL trade rumors, NBA trade rumors, and much more. So, Daniel, if you want to get us started.
Yes, this is normally a Nihar's segment, but Nihar's not with us today. So, in the Australian Open, Novak Djokovic won. He beat. Let me just bring this up real quick. Australian Open 2021. Novak Djokovic won. He beat. Oh boy, I don't want to butcher this name. Daniil Medvedev from Russia. And in the women's singles, Japanese player, she's next up. She's actually very good. She beat Serena Williams in the semifinals. It's almost like it'd be like Patrick Mahomes beating Tom Brady, a young up and coming star versus an older.
That didn't happen.
The GOAT.
Yeah, she beat Naomi Osaka, beat Jennifer Brady from United States. She won 6-4 and 6-3. It was an excellent game from Naomi Osaka. She really did well.
Who did she beat to get into the finals?
She she beat Serena Williams. And Jennifer Brady actually in the semifinals beat Karolina Muchova from Czech Republic. If you didn't know her, I mean, I already did, obviously. Okay. And our famous tennis segment is up.
So, NBA All-Star teams came out a couple days ago. A couple of big names on the teams, but as well as a couple of major snubs, which the world has taken note of.
All right, who wants to start this?
So on the West, you of course have Captain LeBron James. If I can find the rosters, you have Luka Doncic at the guard. You have Steph Curry at the guard. You have Nikola Jokic at center. Then who's the power forward?
Kawhi is at small forward.
Wait, LeBron's Kawhi and LeBron at the forwards.
Yep.
And then on the reserves, you have Damian Lillard, you have Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Paul George, Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, and Zion Williamson. And also, because Anthony Davis will not be able to make it to the All-Star game due to injury, we have Devin Booker filling his place.
For the Eastern Conference, you got Kyrie. You got James Harden, both in the backcourt, and then front court you got Joel Embiid at center, and Kevin Durant at power forward, and small forward is who did I say small forward was?
Tatum.
No, Tatum and Brown are off reserves. Also, I'm pretty sure Harden's a reserve as well.
Who are you forgetting? Irving. You got Kyrie Irving.
Giannis and Beal.
Yeah. I can't forget Giannis.
Giannis and Beal are.
Giannis and Durant are forwards, and then.
Yeah, Beal is starting over Harden. Harden's reserve.
Yep. Okay. So
then the reserves for the East are Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, and Nikola Vucevic. So a couple of big names who are not on either of these teams are, of course, Trae Young, Brandon Ingram. Who else?
I guess Devin Booker, even though.
Yeah.
I mean, he made it because of injury, but yeah, of course, Devin Booker, which I feel like is the biggest snub of them all.
Were you guys surprised with Chris Paul making it over?
Yeah.
I was just about understood why, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I have 3 issues with the teams. My first issue, we'll start with the starters. Obviously, it's out of the coach's control, but I personally think Lillard definitely should have started over Luka Doncic. They made the team. I mean, Luka was saying in an interview last week, he said, yeah, he was kind of surprised. He thought Damian should have made it. But if you think about it, 2 years from now, it's not. No one remembers who started. No one remembers who was the reserve. It's just who was in it. But I think it's just because Luka is more of a global player.
The fan vote kind of put Luka in for the.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Damian to really get his respect. I mean, Damian Lillard has had CJ McCollum and Nurkic out, and they're still 18 and 13. Whereas the Mavericks, I mean, Kristaps has been off and on all season playing and maybe injured.
He's injured for half of it as well so far.
But they're 15 and 15. I mean, it's kind of obvious that Lillard's more important. I'd say my second issue is I think they do for the bench. It's like 2 guards, like 3 forwards and a center, something like that, and then wild cards, something like that. And I'm pretty sure Vucevic was a wild card player, and I think Trae Young definitely should have made it over Vucevic. Not because Vucevic isn't flashy like Trae Young, but he has the stats. And if you look at the standings, Vucevic really, he's important enough so they're at least somewhat in it, but they're really not. They're 13 and 19.
I mean, Vucevic is still averaging 24 and 12.
Yeah, but I mean, Trae Young is going absolutely bananas. If you look at it, this dude's stats, Trae Young is averaging 27 and 10, basically.
9.7, I think. So
basically 10. He's going crazy. And then my third issue is I think Booker definitely should have started over Chris Paul. I know Chris Paul is he's very important for that team, but there could have been a little. It could have been a little bit rigged. I mean, as the president of the player union, coaches really love Chris Paul, and I don't know. It could have had to do a little bit of that because Booker outplays him in every stat.
The one thing is that and I didn't even realize this, that the team is actually better when they have Chris Paul and not Devin Booker, as opposed to not having Devin Booker and having Chris Paul. Or not having Chris Paul and having Devin Booker.
I mean, Devin Booker is their glorified scorer.
Yeah, but
Chris Paul is the facilitator of that offense.
But they do better if you had one guy out, they do better with Chris Paul in that.
Yeah, because of course, Chris Paul is a guy who's their offensive mind on the court.
But the best talent is Booker.
Yeah, Booker's the best talent. He's their best scorer by far.
But who's valuable?
Depends on your situation.
Yeah.
Depends on whatever situation you're in. If you need a go-ahead bucket, I'd rather have Booker.
Yeah.
But if you're in the thick of things in the middle of the game, Paul, because he can facilitate that offense and get some momentum started.
Yeah. If Chris Paul shot more, I think he'd be he's a facilitator. I think he'd be even crazy good, even more he'd be better if he shot more, but he just chooses not to shoot as much as he used to.
Honestly, one thing which I don't like about the West is Zion Williamson over Brandon Ingram. But hear me out, okay? Brandon Ingram has better stats than last year when he made the team. And this year, his assists are also up. And with that, he's playing with Zion on the court more because Zion was injured for half that season last year. We all know how Zion was in college. We all know what he was going to be in the NBA. Brandon Ingram, of course, won Most Improved last year. Made the All-Star team last year. I was surprised that Zion made it over him this year because, in my opinion, Ingram deserved it more.
Not a bad take. My fourth issue with the team is actually not the team itself. Let's take a look at the teams that have 2 All-Stars or 3 All-Stars on the All-Star team. First, we have the Lakers, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Let me check their record. The Lakers are 22 and 11.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go over to the next team that has 2 All-Stars, the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Their record is 23 and 10, second in the West. We got the Nets, who are 19 and 13, third in the East.
3 All-Stars. They're big 3 core.
We have the Sixers, who are first in the East, 21 and 11. We got the Jazz, who are best team in the NBA right now, 26 and 6. They have 2 All-Stars, Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. I mean, we have the Suns who have 2 All-Stars, Chris Paul and Devin Booker, who are 20-11.
And you, of course, have the Celtics, who are under 500.
So that leaves us with one more team, and that's the Boston Celtics,
who are under
have
500.
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are currently 15-17 and not in the playoffs. So,
under 500.
Yeah, I just want to go off of that and see. I don't know what is going on with the Celtics.
They both deserve the nod. They're both incredible young talents. They deserve the nod. The Celtics are just falling apart. They have no defense without Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is the heart of that team. He's their defensive anchor. Ever since he got injured, their defense has just fallen down the drain.
Yeah, we've gone downhill.
Whenever they needed a big defensive stop, who was a guy playing the best on-ball defense on that team? Marcus Smart. Who was a guy forcing turnovers, taking charges? Marcus Smart. He's going to be back after All-Star break. Maybe then they can make a push, but until then, they're going to be bad. They have no defensive-minded player on that team. The entire starting lineup is offensive-minded.
Now, do you put more of the blame on the players or the front office? Because I've heard both.
Both, because the players are being themselves. They are not like saying, okay, our defensive anchor is gone. We should probably step up on defense.
Yeah, there's a lack of leadership on the team. There's a lack of motivation. There's times where we've looked like the Boston Celtics. When we played the Mavericks the other night, I don't think we looked like the Celtics. But when we were down by like 9 or 10 at one point, all of a sudden something just clicked. And like the Celtics looked like the Celtics. I mean, Luka hit that unreal shot. But for 3 minutes of a 48-minute basketball game, the Celtics actually look like the Boston Celtics, like we've seen in the past. I mean, ever since, I'm not going to say Smart's the only reason why we're bad right now. There's other reasons. But ever since Smart got hurt, we haven't put together 2 wins in a row since that Lakers game. And I don't know what really transpired with the Celtics at that point. I mean, our rotations are terrible at the moment.
I also feel like you should place some blame as well on Kemba Walker and his inefficiency of scoring as of late. Because what was he the other day? 1 for 11 from 3?
Yeah, that's an issue.
If he's taking 11 shots from 3 and you make 1, don't shoot from 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're a shooter, but if you're not hitting them, even if you're a shooter, just don't shoot from 3.
Yeah, I got this article off of Nesson. Mike Gorman was on WEI or some talk radio yesterday before the game, and this was an interesting take. I haven't heard this one yet. He's not putting the blame completely on them, but he thinks some of the blame should actually fall on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Not like the numbers wise, they're fine, but this is exactly what he said. He said that he just thinks they're being slightly selfish, not being ball hogs, just being selfish in general. Like who can getting as many points as they can. He's like, he feels that it's just being too individual on the team right now. There's not a lot of ball movement. There's just a lot of ISO ball. It's just ISO ball after ISO ball. And
what are the assist numbers after Smart got hurt? That's my question, because Smart not only was the defensive anchor, he was leading the team in assists.
Probably lower.
I mean, there was that one game where Tatum had like 9 assists and Brown had 7, but other than that, what were the assist numbers? Like, what are they averaging this span? Probably lower than 5 each. There is no ball rotation, ball passing on that offense. There needs to be some mind thing going on with the player saying, I need to be the best player I am, but not for the team, per se.
So, transitioning to that, do you guys think that that the Celtics need to make a major trade, or more like not minor, but kind of right in the middle, like for where you look at more of like a specific need rather than an all-star player? You look at, well, I want more veteran presence. Let me go out and get like a George Hill. Or or I need a shooter. Let me go get a Wayne Ellington, or I need a center. Let me go trade for Andre Drummond. I know that's come up for a bunch of teams, Raptors especially.
Yeah.
If I'm the Celtics, if I'm Danny Ainge, I would do either one. If I'm going for a big trade, I'll probably throw Kemba Walker in there, if I'm being honest.
So
But if I'm going for a smaller trade, I'll probably go for like a 3-and-D player because they really need that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Because their offense is consistent. They have people who can drive. They have people who can shoot. Really, it'll help the spacing more, and it also will exponentially help their defense.
Yeah, I think there's a mixture. We definitely need time to wait for Marcus Smart to get healthy, and I guess Kemba Walker. I don't know what his issue is because I keep blaming on the knee, but I've seen
a single part of the body for too long.
He's had flashes where he looks relatively explosive. I mean, he just can't shoot. It's not like he can't. It's not like he's driving through the hoop and like his explosiveness is not like he has to dunk. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
Trade wise, if we're gonna go all in, you got to go out and get a guy like John Collins or like Chris Stapps that was put up for that people are having rumors for trade. But I think we just got to get team need. I think like JJ Redick or something like that. We have a lot of depth at the defensive end, but we can't play defense right now. We keep like obviously someone like Trae Young will end up getting 30 points, but it should be a hard 30 points. It shouldn't be just like a dribble around, having a lot of fun 30 points. I mean, these guys, we used to be the best top 5 defensive team in the league. Now we're just in the middle of the pack. I mean, it's basically Danny Ainge is like, oh, I didn't build this team well. I mean, besides Tristan Thompson, I guess like Peyton Pritchard and Robert Williams getting better. I mean, it's basically the same team as last year, besides Gordon Hayward. But Hayward was not. It's not like he was anything special with the Celtics.
It doesn't help when Talon drops 38 on you, going 10 for 12 for the arc.
I mean, it's not just Gallinari being like on fire. I mean, there's a lot of times his threes are just wide open.
Yeah.
But
if they do trade for Kristaps, what do you guys think that starting lineup would be once
Porzingis?
If they traded for Kristaps Porzingis, what will that starting lineup be once Smart gets healthy?
I don't know who we would put in that package though, because the Mavericks wouldn't take Kemba Walker. They have Luka. Why would they take Kemba Walker? So we'd have to include a bunch of firsts. I don't think we'd be able to attain him. We would have to trade like a bunch of guys. I don't know who we'd trade.
So there's been a lot of news around lately that the Raptors are interested in trading away Kyle Lowry, who recently was a third ever Raptor to hit 10,000 career points with the organization. So where would he go? And what do you guys think the package would be to acquire him?
Well, I can tell you the exact package that my 76ers would need to give him. I don't know if you guys know who Paul Hudrick is, but he does a bunch of he figures out a bunch of trade situations. And he covers the Sixers. And he said that if you want Kyle Lowry, the player that has to be in the deal would be Danny Green, $15 million this year. And his contract is off the books in 2022. Kyle Lowry is 1 year, $30 million, so his contract is also off the books. So if the Sixers wanted to make this trade happen, they'd have to do Danny Green, Mike Scott, Terrence Ferguson, and like a Tony Bradley or Vincent Poirier, one of their guys that they traded for in the offseason that doesn't really play at all. They just did it for the money, so it would work. And then obviously you'd have to throw in 2 first-rounders or a first-rounder and maybe like a Tyrese Maxey or a Shake Milton.
Okay, there we go. I thought you were done. I'm like, why would the Raptors ever accept that trade?
Because you got to make up for what you're giving them. You also have to. They're not gonna do it just for picks. You got to give them a player that can turn into what Kyle Lowry was.
So, branching off of that, would they play Kyle at the 1, then have Simmons go to the 4?
No, I think so. I was thinking about that. What they would do. And some people say Kyle Lowry should come off the bench. I don't see it. Yeah,
he's too explosive offensively and defensively to come off the bench, in my opinion.
So what it would be is Lowry at the 1, Curry at the 2. You would keep Harris at the 4 because he just excels at power forward. You saw last year they tried to move him to the 3. It just didn't work. And beat at the 5, obviously. Simmons is a positionless player. You
So
can call
play him at the 3.
Yeah, they play him at the 3.
They use Ben Simmons sort of like LeBron, basically,
Exactly.
who's a worse shooter, but like a LeBron-esque player.
And then you'd essentially have you'd have like that LeBron-esque player as your center of your offense, but it would still run through Embiid and Harris. But now you'd also have, instead of Green and Curry, you'd have Lowry and Curry. And Lowry can shoot as well as Green, in my opinion, and he can play defense as well as Green, maybe even better. It would just be like the spacing would still be there, I think, but you could run pick and rolls way better, because if you have Simmons running that offense, it's hard to run pick and rolls because teams know that he can't shoot, so they're going to cut it off and make him stay behind the guy setting the pick, because they don't have to.
Simmons can shoot mid-range. He can.
He won't.
He kind of can.
He
won't, except he can. Which is he needs to break out of that loop of saying, I cannot do this, but I have to do this.
Thing is, they interviewed Simmons. He's like, I'm just going to do whatever is the most high percentage shot. So, and that's why
that'll be driving into the paint every time.
He can kind of disappear from games because you don't see it. It doesn't show up in the scorebook because he does things it's not the sexy play, but he sets picks. He gets the ball moving. He does a lot of things that just goes unnoticed. And I really think you can put him basically anywhere. So it just depends who you surround him with.
I just want to point out what Kyle Lowry's stat line from their 8-point loss to the Heat last night was. Kyle Lowry shot 9 for 13 from the floor, 2 for 4 from the line with 24 points. He had, I'm pretty sure, 8 assists and 8 rebounds as well on top of that.
And this was his first game back, right? From injury?
This was his first game back from his thumb injury, and I think it was a leg. He missed 4 games.
Yep.
So, do you think he'll still be like that offensive facilitator on that team still?
Oh, 100%, yeah. It also depends what team he goes to, though.
Yeah, I think the Raptors, Heat, Mavericks, and Celtics all are falling into the exact same category. They're all had high expectations for the season. I mean, obviously Jimmy Butler was hurt for a while, but still, these teams all had high expectations for the season, and they had some form of injury or some form of just underperforming, and now are either at 500, a game or two below 500. So I'm expecting these guys to turn it around at some point. I just can't see it not happening. There's just no way these 4 teams will just continue to play mediocre basketball.
Yeah, someone's going to take off.
I've heard rumors that the Heat are actually trying to get either Drummond or get Kyle Lowry.
I don't think they'll get Lowry, but I could see Drummond potentially.
If they get Drummond, then the Bam would move to the 4.
I think Drummond is kind of overrated. He
Yeah.
literally will score. I saw this article somewhere. He'll score 22 points and have 23 rebounds and have no effect on the game.
Yep. I saw that too.
He'll put up Bill Russell numbers and will not affect the game in any way. They'll still lose by 10 points. And
you theoretically that offense would be that starting lineup would be Dragic, Robinson, with Butler at the 3, Bam at the 4, then Drummond at the 5.
Drummond's just a more muscular Tristan Thompson. I mean, there's nothing special about him, in my opinion.
So are you saying that there's nothing you can get out of Drummond that you can't get out of Bam Adebayo right now?
Bam Adebayo is way better than Andre. Bam Adebayo is probably a top something center in the league. He's not better than Embiid, Jokic, or if you want to consider AD a center. But, I mean, he's definitely up there, top 7, top 6.
I mean, you do have this insane stat line from, I think, 4 or 5 games ago where Butler and Bam became the first pair of players to record a triple-double in the same game on the same team.
Bam's a beast. He killed the Celtics last year in that playoff series.
Well, what do you have, 37 points that one game?
And
the block on Tatum. But
sorry, go ahead.
I know you go ahead.
I was going to say, did we say what the potential Celtics lineup could look like if they did make a move for Porzingis?
The issue is I don't know who we give up. We first have to consider who
You
we give
didn't
up.
consider who you give up, but if they were to somehow retain Smart,
I say I think it'd be more realistic if they trade Smart and not trade Kemba just because of the money.
the money, yes, if you're thinking keeping Smart is better for the team than keeping Kemba, in my opinion.
It is. I agree with that.
So if they are able to dish Kemba off and retain Smart and somehow get Porzingis.
So then it would be like, so it'd be Pritchard.
Smart could play the 1 or the 2. So
yeah, so Smart, Pritchard, Brown, Tatum, and Porzingis.
Maybe, or you could have like Smart at the 1, Brown at the 2, Tatum at the 3, Porzingis at the 4, then put like Tristan Thompson at the 5. Porzingis can space the floor. He can shoot.
This report just came out. It was like basically an hour ago on MassLive.com. It was on talk radio. Boston's GM Danny Ainge said he's been close on a couple of times on potential deals. So he said he's been very, very close. It's just he doesn't know how. We really should have pulled that trigger on Miles Turner before the season. It was literally on the table. They literally offered it to Danny Ainge. It was Turner and McDermott for, I can't remember what it was, but it was a good trade for us. And he's like, no, I want TJ Warren, said like Doug McDermott. Like, I don't care about TJ Warren. I just wanted Miles Turner. If you look, he's literally leading the whole league in blocks. However, Robert Williams is slowly turning into Miles Turner.
Robert Williams is definitely like living up to the hype he had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he's slowly getting good, but I think we got to trade him, even though he's playing well. But since his stock is really going up, I think we have to trade him.
Talking about trades, this is a perfect transition to the NFL and the crazy quarterback carousel that's going to happen this year like it did last year. There's been a news that a couple of teams are interested in Russell Wilson, interested in joining, as there's been drama within the Seahawks organization and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's camp has talked trades to him going to the Dolphins, the Jets, the Saints, and the Raiders. Which one of these teams is best for him, and what will be the most dynamic?
I don't know who is in the front office of the Seahawks. If they trade Russell Wilson, I don't know what they're on.
It's the same boat as the Texans have with Deshaun Watson.
But like Russell Wilson just said he's fed up with getting sacked a lot.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson's team is terrible.
Yeah, except the thing with the Seahawks is they're never going to spend on their offensive line.
They have to listen to this dude. Russell Wilson would be an upgrade on almost every single team in the NFL, but like 3 teams. Even if he went to the Ravens, he'd still be an upgrade. Like, I can't believe they would even trade. If they trade him, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll be happy.
If the Saints somehow acquire Wilson, that NFC is going to be deadly, or continue to be more deadly than it is.
Yeah, Saints Buccaneers, that's going to be the championship every year.
Rohan, name the teams again that you said he could go to.
So Wilson's camp has talked to the front office about him being traded to the Dolphins, the Jets, the Saints, and the Raiders.
Okay, I look at one team that makes sense in those 4, and that would be the Dolphins. They got enough money if they had to.
They got the cap. They got the quarterback to trade them.
They have probably out of those 4 teams, the most comparable one to a Russell Wilson type in Tua. It's not even close. Like the Saints don't have one.
Derek Carr is kind of plays like Russell Wilson at times.
Derek Carr for the Raiders?
Yeah. He runs, he can scramble. He's been deadly accurate as of late half the time.
But I'd much rather have Tua for the upside. If I'm even doing the trade, I wouldn't even do it if I'm the Seahawks. And then who's last one? The Jets. They don't have anything to offer besides picks.
Who wouldn't want a Jets pick?
Yeah, I know. I got you. If they traded this second, but I could see like the Dolphins sending Tua, and then their first round pick this year, and then like a first round next year, and like maybe a second for Wilson, because you think about it, the Dolphins are like a quarterback away from being a legit playoff team.
Could you imagine having Russell Wilson and Josh Allen in the same division? What am I gonna do with myself as a Patriots fan? You guys have, we had Brady all these years, but to have Russell Wilson and Josh Allen in the same division would be not fun at all.
So, of course, also in the news, you have J.J. Watt, who is for the first time in his career is a free agent. Him and the Texans, of course, mutually parted ways earlier. And he's been sending some cryptic tweets out. Of course, on the 23rd, he said the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Let's
He
make
alluding to going to the Bills. Who knows? And an hour ago, he said midday naps loathed as a child, revered in adulthood. What could this mean? Would this mean anything? You're just being normal on Twitter.
I don't know what is up with this dude. You know what? I'd rather have this happen than have a whole 2-hour show for LeBron James to make his decision. I'd rather have this. I wouldn't say J.J. Watt's past his prime, but he's still a game record that he is. I think my prediction for him would probably be the Packers. He should go to the Packers. I think that would be, well, as a Patriots fan, I'm kind of hoping he doesn't go to the Bills. So
he also has a strong shot of going to the Steel City.
That's what I think.
I hope he goes to the Steelers. That'd be nice.
You think you have 3 Watts on that team then?
Oh,
Great.
actually, now thinking about it, he could go to the Steelers, just wanting to play with your brother and stuff.
Think about what he said. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Wow, that has a lot to do with the Steelers.
DNA, no. DNA, his brothers.
Cool.
Yeah, but there's like some biology center in the Buffalo
Yeah.
that works
He's
with that.
napping with the Watt brothers as a child, and now he's napping with them on the team.
Exactly.
But that defensive line, if they get Watt, is Cameron Hayward still on a contract with them?
Yeah, I think so.
So who would that be? You would have Hayward, you have Watt, you have other Watt,
Bush, right?
Bush. Is Dupree still on a contract? And
Yeah, he was just hurt.
Oh my God.
but
Now, he should go to the Rams. Imagine having the 2 best DNs of like the whole 2010s on one each side, Aaron Donald and JJ Watt. Could you imagine?
I mean, Aaron Donald is just DN. That man's the entire defensive line.
That's like, you could just put just them 2 versus 5 blockers. They'd still get to the QB.
But like, if you think about it, JJ Watt, TJ Watt on the edge, and then just a 3-man pressure front. JJ, TJ on the edge, then you would have Hayward up the middle.
Yeah, and you have Ben Roethlisberger throwing 4 picks.
I mean, hey, that's
So,
it.
I mean, they're going nowhere with that. They would be stupid.
They should get rid of Big Ben.
We all saw what happened this year with that defense and how it somehow won them a couple of games.
It fell apart.
They
though.
had a bunch of injuries.
They had injuries, yeah.
The injuries started piling up, yes.
But their defense was still good after the injuries. It was just Ben Roethlisberger should not be the quarterback of the team. They got to go out and get someone in the draft or sign someone. Ben Roethlisberger is not where he used to be. He's not the guy who would break like 3 tackles or 3 sacks and throw a deep bomb to Antonio Brown. I mean, they still got receivers.
Some of it was play calling though. Like when Big Ben called his own plays, they were moving down the field. Like second half against the Colts, that was a really good game for Big Ben. Like just the second half. I'm just really glad they got rid of Randy Fitchner. That guy his play calling was absolutely atrocious.
I mean, something's got to change in that team after the poor performance against the Browns in the playoffs.
I mean, something could change because Juju Smith-Schuster, of course, is a free agent this year.
He wants to stay.
He wants to stay, except, I mean, they had to pay him as well.
Or come to the Patriots. We could use.
If I'm being honest, if I'm in his shoes, would I stay for the city who drafted me or go for the money? If the city who drafted me may not have a competent quarterback for a couple of years.
You know, I don't know if they have the cap. If I'm him, I go to the Chargers.
Maybe.
Like, Him,
Yeah, I
Keenan
mean,
Allen,
have
Justin Herbert.
the Twitch clip with him and Keenan Allen saying he wants to go to LA.
I mean, it's Juju Smith-Schuster. He's not just an NFL player. He's more of a celebrity too now, with his YouTube channel and
TikTok.
and dancing and all that. I mean, he'd be perfect fit for Los Angeles, perfect fit for the Chargers to pair it with Justin Herbert, Eckler, Keenan. I mean, that team would be deadly on offense. And I don't know.
Of course, they'll be getting Derwin James back on defense.
That'd be the smart move for him. If I'm him, I go to the Chargers.
And finally, let's talk about a stat that I recently saw yesterday. Since the start of 2019, the best quarterback with the best QBR in the NFL, of course, is the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Tannehill. Do you think this is because of Derrick Henry, or is it a mix of him being better than Mariota and Henry taking his game to the next level with the addition of Tannehill being more accurate?
What was that? Sorry, I missed that completely.
Since the beginning of 2019, Tannehill has the best quarterback rating in the NFL, above Mahomes, above Rodgers with 110. Is this because of Derrick Henry, or is it not?
Obviously, Derrick Henry has to be a part of it, because when you have a monster like Derrick Henry, or if you just have a good run game in general, your QB is going to benefit from that a lot. And you look at the style of that offense: pound the rock, pound the rock, pound the rock, 60-yard touchdown to AJ Brown.
Well, only casuals will say that's only because of Derrick Henry. He's a system quarterback and only works because of play action. But if it really only worked because of play action, he had almost 4,000 yards and he had 33 touchdowns with a 65.5 completion rating. So, I mean, obviously part of it is definitely due to Derrick Henry. But people calling him system quarterback, I see in Instagram comment sections, system quarterback, all he does is play action. Not true. He can really throw the ball. I mean, he's got weapons all across the board. He's got Johnny Smith, Corey Davis, AJ Brown. I mean, look at this dude's stats. AJ Brown's stats from last year. He posted his second 1,000-yard season in only 14 games. He probably would have had like 1,300 yards or something like that if he played two more. So, I mean, Tannehill, he doesn't get the respect he deserves, I believe.
Also, if you look at Henry's stats as well, Derrick Henry's, his numbers have gone up since Tannehill starting over Mariota. Just in general, the man's running lanes have been more open. He's been getting more yardage. Do you think this is because defenses are more aware that Tannehill is more accurate than Mariota, or is it just that defenses are getting more tired out over the season?
Ooh. Tannehill's just a good quarterback, and I mean, you got Derrick Henry. He's the best, at least just flat out running wise. He's the best running back in the league. So, yeah.
And lastly, let's touch about Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts. So, Elliot, what's your take on this?
My take is that we need to stop talking about it because Carson's a bum. And no, I'm kidding. Where do you want me to start? Where do you want me to start? It's a huge trade. It's going to affect the whole league. As of now, we're at a standstill and no quarterbacks are moving, but I assume that's going to pick up rather shortly, maybe a little bit longer. But as for Carson Wentz, this is the best thing that could have happened to him. I think he needed to get out of Philadelphia. The fans gave up on him. I know some had his back this whole time. I gave up on him, I'm going to be honest. And I didn't give up on his talent. I think the talent's there. But look at guys like David Johnson. Look at guys, I don't know, like the guys that have injuries and then they never mentally recover from it. And some recover physically, but they just can't recover mentally. And it really hurts the game because football is not just the game of physicality, you know? So we saw some sparks from Wentz after that injury, but the Eagles totally just destroyed his career, and it has to do with the Hurts pick, and it has to do with just the front office. Like they thought that by being loyal to them, all they had to do was give him a bunch of money. But that's not true. You got to give him weapons, give him a healthy O-line.
Don't give him an old line as well. What is that? What is Jason Peters, like 46, and he is
this dude
started half the season?
Well, yeah, he's gone, but it's like after that Super Bowl, the Eagles, like it was one of the worst things that could have happened to this franchise, because they started doing something that they never usually do. After they lose in a playoff series, or like you saw this in their Andy Reid years and then the Chip Kelly years, they got rid of veterans. Well, what did they do last year, or 2 years ago? Sorry, they signed Deshaun Jackson. You signed Deshaun Jackson to 3 years. That's a very uncharacteristic move for this organization.
Even at his older age, he was like as explosive as ever. He had the speed.
Right, and you can say like, oh well, they lost their guy in Torrey Smith, and Deshaun Jackson was the only one they could replace him with. But you don't just retool with an older guy. You gotta learn to let them go. And this is what happened. They got too attached to their veterans, and because of that, they didn't give any weapons to Wentz. They just had faith that he was going to magically be able to do everything by himself, and it put stress on him. It put stress on the team, and then they ended up. Oh, we have so many veterans. We're just so good. Let's just draft a quarterback. What could go wrong?
Wentz folds.
Yep. And now I think Wentz has the potential. I don't think he'll ever be a Pro Bowler. Maybe he will, but and people are like how is this trade like fair? Well, it's fair because this was the market value for Wentz. You're not going to get much more than a third and a conditional second.
As an Eagle,
But,
oh, there we go. As an Eagles fan, what would you do if Carson Wentz goes on to win MVP this season?
I'd be happy for him.
I mean, for him, but as an Eagles fan.
As an Eagles fan, see, he wouldn't have been able to do it here. This is a toxic organization. I don't even know why I'm still a fan.
I mean, you won the Super Bowl in 2017.
Yeah, the banner behind you.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Like the greatest day of my life. I swear to God. But like this organization just like they I don't know. They managed to sabotage. Like look at the draft. I feel like they'd be that team that drafts the Heisman and he turns out to be a bust.
Jalen Reagor over Joseph Jefferson.
So before we wrap up now, one last question. There's been rumors that they're going to draft another quarterback in the first or second round.
Yeah.
Would you rather have a quarterback who they draft this year or stay with Hurts?
Before I answer that, Daniel, so the answer to your question is I would be pretty upset if Wentz went on to win MVP, but at the same time, I think there's nothing the Eagles could have done.
Yeah.
Rohan. So, most of the fan base is kind of frustrated because they want to see what we have in Hurts. I agree. I got a Hurts jersey. I'm with what's his name? The reporter. He's all in on Hurts. I forgot what his name is, but I'm all in on Hurts too. But you can't see like why they wouldn't at least check in on a quarterback. You can't get mad at them for like at least checking in.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at them for picking up a quarterback, except not as early as a first or second round, maybe like a third or fourth rounder.
Exactly. So if I'm the Eagles, I'm signing a Ryan Fitzpatrick, a Tyrod Taylor, a Jacoby Brissett to back up Hurts because they're not going to take his job. They're just there for the veteran presence. But then if you really want to like bring in competition, yeah, draft a fourth rounder, draft maybe a third rounder. I wouldn't, but fourth rounder, fifth rounder, bring one in, have them compete against Hurts, and see what you get. But it's if I'm the Eagles, you gotta go with a game changing player that's not a freaking quarterback. Like But who knows at this point how we could do anything?
Nobody knows what happens in that Eagles organization at this point.
Yeah. At the same time though, last thing, like everyone's like, oh well, he picked Hurts. Who knows what he could do now? He picked Hurts because Carson Wentz was believed to be injury prone. He picked Hurts because he saw Russell Wilson in him. So you're telling me if you see Russell Wilson in him, how are you going to take another quarterback in the first round unless it's the Clemson Trevor Lawrence? How are you going to pick someone else unless you see Patrick Mahomes in them, like Tom Brady in them? Like you're not. No.
I mean, hey, he got you guys a couple of wins.
You got to get him weapons though. That's what the Eagles got to do. They gotta get weapons. I don't care if they trade back. Just get more picks, get more weapons, and rebuild. But don't get another quarterback this year, please.
Well, that's all we have time for today. So it's been very interesting discussions we've had today about the NBA, and the NFL offseason. Hopefully there's more to come as both go deeper on into and we get to see more of what's going on.